Okay, so what I'm doing here actually is I'm drawing the view, but I'm not drawing it literally. I'm mark making and trying to kind of get the feel of things. So I'm using a limited palette, so I'll get started. I'm using a limited palette, I'm using just some gouache, and I'm not even applying it with any great care. What I'm actually trying to do is just to try and get the feel of it. So it's going to be necessarily quite messy. So I'm using gouache, I'm using some coloured pencil and a little bit of Conte if I feel like it. And I'm applying things in different ways and just basically having some fun with it really. So I hope that you can see what I'm doing here. It's I've got my phone propped up actually on a roll of the tape that I'm using because I forgot to bring my proper little tripod thing that I have. So I'm just sort of looking at some amazing views of moorland actually, and I'm not even looking at the paper. You know, you can't see my eyes, but I'm kind of really interested in some of the shapes that are going on, and some of these shapes are formed by the fact that the light is hitting the moors in a particular way at those top areas. So I'm just trying to kind of get a sense of them really, and I'm trying not to, so I'll only be doing this for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to just finish by using pencils, and I'm going to try and loosen up a little bit by holding them. I should have brought some tape with me, and again I didn't. I usually tape them. I could tape it together now, except for the tape is actually propping up the phone. So I'm trying to kind of vary the different marks I make to represent different things. I might just finish that there. Oh no, it's really dense. It's here. And I'm going to end that there, so hopefully you can see that that's a view. So I'm back in the studio now, and so what I do with these small drawings is I do them as you've seen on pieces of paper that are either sort of A4 or A3 in this case, and once I have the piece of paper I literally divide it up, and I usually use tape just because it's easier and it creates a nice clean edge. And what I'm doing with those small drawings is I'm really trying to just home in on things that are interesting to me, and it's great because I give myself a deadline of only 2 to 3 minutes, and by doing that it means you don't get overthinking. And I limit the materials, I have them all laid out so that I don't have to sort of think about that either. So in these ones, as you can see, I have got paint, and that's gouache, so I've got 3 different colours of gouache. And I've also got something to make lines with, which sometimes is graphite, sometimes Conte, sometimes charcoal. I think it's charcoal and Conte you see here. And so it's a really nice way, and it's one of a number of ways I'm just experimenting with how I actually experience my subject matter. And this is just one of the ways that I'm actually studying the subject matter at the moment, which in my case is moorland and woodland and farmland, ready for a big body of work. So I'm going to just literally cut these up very simply using a using a knife, and using a simple knife here and using a ruler, and I'll just get going with it just because it's quite a simple process, but I just wanted to share with you how I actually go about, sort of using them subsequently. Because the problem is, if all you do is put them in a folder, it's all they do is just get dog-eared and you don't do anything with them really. So doing them in this way and keeping them a little bit more organised, it really helps, because then you can actually make something of them. So what I'm doing with these is I'm going to put them into my Moorland sketchbook, and I will put them in sequence, and subsequently I will analyse them and write notes on them, because it just really helps me to understand what it is I'm particularly interested in. And the thing about these very quick illustrations, drawings, what you like to call them, studies, is that you don't really have time to ponder and think. And so what comes out of you and what you home in on is quite intuitive really. And it's quite interesting what does come out. You'd be surprised. So it's really worth having a go at these. But because you've got limited time, you really just have to limit yourself with the time you take to do them. And what I like to do as well, I'm just showing you how I kind of cut them up and use them, is I actually like to put them back in the order that I had them on the overall sheet. So I always take a photo on location. I'm getting them all out of order here, but I'm just doing it so you can see how I would do it. And literally, I just cut them up, and then that looks okay actually. I kind of like them to be about the same sort of size so that they kind of line up. So I sometimes just trim bits off, as long as it doesn't mean I lose half of them. And oftentimes, if you watch Lewis Noble's videos, he'll say that trimming them really helps, because often they kind of dwindle off the images towards the edges. And so this kind of helps. I'm not going to stick those down, but I'm going to show you some others. So that's all I really do. So what I will then do, I'm not going to stick these ones down yet, because I want to get them in order. But what I do is I'll then put them onto the thing. So I'll probably get 4 on a double page spread. So in this case, I had sort of like two rows of 4. I'd literally have half the page on one double sheet and then the other half on another double sheet, so they're sort of in the same order. So I quite like to do that, and I number them and have them written on. So I'm going to show you now with the video that you saw of me doing some drawing outside. I've actually already just trimmed these up, just like I showed you just then. So I have these 6 pieces, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put them onto a double page spread. So I've got them numbered in the corner and dated, and then it's quite nice because I'll have a little bit of space to put something small, but I can then write and narrate underneath, which enables me to do some analysis of these and make some comments, which is really helpful. So all I do now is I'll just move that to the side, and I've got the detail of them of it on the back here, and I've got sort of already made a note of that, so I don't need to worry too much about that. But literally, I use this is just a gel medium, because I'm used to using that as a sort of a glue when I do my paintings. So I use, and this isn't a particularly expensive one, I'm just trying to get a sort of a spread of it really. You could use a Pritt stick or whatever you want to use to glue it, a PVA. I just like to use something that is gonna work. And by the way, you just need to make sure, I'm going to properly put that down in a minute once I've put the next one on, which is that one. You do need to just make sure that you've fixed them before you start faffing around with the drawings and cutting them up and things. If you've used things like charcoal that will need some fixing, because if you don't do that, you'll make a mess everywhere. And what I get into the habit of is I always put the number, like you can see the number in the top corner, so I don't end up putting half of them upside down and things like that, because that might not matter to you, but it kind of really annoys me if I get things out of sync when I've bothered to kind of be quite organised with them on location. And I'm just using this to press it down. You could use a bone folder or anything else, but it's quite handy just to have something. A sheet of paper would do it. I've just got this tracing paper to hand. And job's a good one. And they might, you know, they might sort of curl up at the edges and are probably not so firmly stuck at the moment, but at least they're more or less there. And then I'll just try not to put too much on because I don't want it all squelching out. The problem with this is it then sticks the pages together if you're not careful. So that might be another reason to use a Pritt stick or something. Having said that, as long as you clean them off afterwards, it's not too bad. So I don't usually have problems with with the gloss medium that much. So you can see that I've got, from that A4 sheet, I've got those 3 images there, and it gives me a nice sort of space to write some notes and things afterwards. And I just find it's useful to keep them in a sketchbook like this, because you just then have a sort of a story of the work. And there's lots of different ways you can do this really. This is my Moorland sketchbook, and I've only just started it actually. And it's just something where I'm going to collect all of my smaller works and work from the studio around the development of the paintings. So that's it really. I hope it was useful, and as I say, I'm going to just put those in as well. So that's just a way I keep those very small 2-minute drawings in my sketchbooks. So this is the finished sketchbook pages. So as you can see, as I was mentioning, I incorporated those 8 onto 2 pages, the smaller ones I was cutting up, and I've written just information really that helps me to remember exactly where it was, as well as analysis of the individual images, which I've written on that side, and some information on the date and exactly where it was up there. So those are the first small ones that I showed you cut up, and it really just then helps me. They're just a reference really, and sometimes I've written on here about what I'd want to do in the future when I do more of these types of drawings. So hopefully that makes some sense. And then just finally, the ones that you actually saw me sticking down, if I just twiddle them round so that hopefully you get the impression. And this is where I've written the analysis on the bottom, as I've said, and again the same thing, you know, details of the place and the date on the top, and then more the same here. So I hope that's been helpful, and please do, if you've enjoyed my video, please do subscribe to my channel and like and comment if you feel like you can. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.